This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on the KTPF Community Talk Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for our new weekly radio shows. To accompany the KTPF Community Talk Show, we now have our own free magazine to view online or download for free. Visit our website for more details. Also, the KTPF Community Talk Show is supported by Phenomenon Magazine and Beyond Parazine, available online now.
The KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Dragonos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including Fright Nights, all-night investigations and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
The comments and views expressed on the KTPF Community Talk Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the views of ourselves or of our sponsors.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to the KTPF Community Talk Show, live from Manchester on www.ktpf.co.uk. My name is Suzanne.
And I'm Steve.
I'm still Andy.
And we're keeping the paranormal friendly each and every Sunday, where we bring you a relaxed show with no pressure. So just sit down with your favourite beverage and listen while we talk about various topics, from cryptozoology to UFOs, and share information, advice, and most importantly, friendship. Remember, collaboration, not competition. This show incorporates a wide spectrum of these fascinating subjects. So if you have any questions, you can use the live interactive chat room where we will ask our guests for you, or you can Skype in and speak directly to our guests by adding the ktpf.paranormal show. Later we will have the rundown of this month's events provided by our sister site at paranormaleventsforyou.com. And we'd like to acknowledge everybody in the chat room and those that will be listening on radio replay on our YouTube channel. Those that are in the chat room at the moment, there's less in the chat room than there is viewing as usual. At the start, we've got Manky Hypno Man. Good evening to you. Stone Cold Stew 316, who we'll be talking to around about 8:30 with Stacey. And we've got Vectra Man, so a big shout out to you lot. Thanks for joining us. And if you are listening in the background, why don't you join our live interactive chat room, and you can talk amongst yourselves whilst you're listening. And maybe ask questions too. Well, Andy, how you been this week?
Me, not too bad at all. I'm just, working on the next edition of the magazine. As you guys know, I'm away next week.
Yes.
Not the week after Poland for a week.
Uh-huh.
So I've got the magazine done and completed before I go, so it should be out by this time next week, basically.
Brilliant.
And that everything's always fun and dandy here.
Don't seem long since the last one was out.
I know, tell me about it. Because I get like a week off and doing it, then suddenly back to do the magazine again.
Yeah, I know. So, I don't know. Any hints on what's coming up this magazine?
Well, this one's kind of a bit different, as I might have mentioned a bit before, because one of the interviews in there, when Richard and I, my friend Richard and I did the show together, was to keep it occult friendly. We've kind of kept the theme a little bit. I've got stuff from Andy Collins talking about the Black Alchemist, and I've got some stuff from Charles from last weekend talking about kind of the history of Clapham Wood. So that's all in there as well. I've got the usual articles from Alison Winrider talking about angels and spirit guardians, and stuff from our cryptozoology man and Richard Thomas as well. So all good stuff.
All good stuff. All the usual stuff and a lot more. So Steve's pinging over there.
Yeah, I'm just going into muted.
Okay, well, just to let you know what's coming up at 8:30, we will be talking to C.O.T.C. He's gone mad. C.O.T.C Paranormal Investigations, who were founded in 1986. Let's hope I get this right. By Adrian and Stacey Lloyd-Briden and Stuart Logan. all having a keen interest in the paranormal and all having experienced the supernatural. Stacey and Stuart will be talking about the 15 plus years of running COTC, starting back in the late 1990s before ghost hunting was popular. We find out how they were able to investigate excellent locations without the exorbitant charges of today, including Pevensey Castle and Mitcham Priory, and a week-long investigation of haunted locations across the UK, including the only the second investigation ever of Woodchester Mansion, and the only ever investigation of Boss Castle Witchcraft Museum. So, lots coming up tonight, and you know about some of these, don't you, Andy?
Pretty much all of them, yes. I was with them for many of those events over the years. I used to be a regular member of COTC, did lots of investigation with them. We had, which I'm sure I'll get you guys to talk about, an amazing week-long trip when we went to various locations, including Woodchester and Boss Castle, which was one of my highlights of my entire time with those guys. It was good fun.
Right, brilliant. So, as I say, you can use the phone lines, which will be open later on. You can call us on 0844 414 3982, or as I said previously, you can Skype in and speak directly to our guest by adding ktpf.paranormal show, or you can just type your question into the chat room. And don't forget, if you enjoy what you see, don't forget to follow us on our YouTube channel. Good evening, Viscount Foire, and if that's pronounced right.
Yeah,
either way, I don't know where he's been, but he said, "Are you playing Candy Crush on your phone, Steve?"
No, I was. It had been off, so I just unlocked it, and all the messages came in that I'd already seen from earlier. I was actually only going in to mute it.
Okay.
Mute the phone.
Mute the phone. Okay, so we're going to hand over to Steve now for the observations.
Right, here we go. Unfortunately, we are still hearing stories of people being conned by unscrupulous people who think the paranormal is an easy target. I'm going to read this one out in its entirety. This is more for our cousins across the pond.
Okay.
A Virginia woman allegedly scammed people out of thousands of dollars in Tombstone, Arizona this weekend. Paranormal event planner scheduled multiple events, haunted tours in a historic town, but cancelled the event and left town without issuing refunds. Tucson News 4 KVOA also reported on the Examiner story today. Carol Malone, who used an alias London Knight, scheduled a 2-day paranormal event in the town of Tombstone that was supposed to occur from May the 1st to May the 3rd. The event originally planned to feature various speakers, celebrities, and have haunted locations on tour and investigate. Only about a few hours of the event actually happened on Friday night. London Night was the name Malone gave to most of her guests and her business owners that she had venues with. She is being accused of ripping off her guests and not paying the business owners, and the Tombstone locations are out of thousands of dollars owed by Malone for the services. Food and drinks, lodgings and tours that she promised to pay for. Malone allegedly scheduled multiple rooms at various hotels for her guests to stay in this weekend, and when she arrived in town she didn't pay for them. The majority of Malone's guests and talent that showed up were expecting to be in high-end hotel with their own rooms. They were told that they had to stay in a cheap motel and share rooms with other guests. When they arrived, folks paid for nice rooms, but the rooms they ended up in were run down. One of Malone's guests, Shawnee Perez, paid $900 for a VIP ticket that was being sold to other guests for $325. Perez had a flight credit, so she decided to use it to come to the event. She is upset because she stayed in her room the entire time and didn't experience anything. Perez has a brain tumour that is terminal, and she would rather have saved her plane ticket to visit family or use for medical reasons. She claimed that Malone had borrowed $260 in cash to pay one of the hotels that she owed money to. Malone wrote her a bad check for the amount. Malone eventually got detained by one of Tombstone's marshals, and he cited her for theft of services for non-payment of several locations in town. Upon leaving the Tombstone marshal's office, she claimed she was going for a walk to the Tucson airport because no one would give her a ride. Malone Family found her round out of town and back to the airport when she heard that the marshals were looking for her again. Dark Side Entertainment, Malone's paranormal event planning agency, has multiple upcoming events scheduled for later this year. When paying for events, be sure to check the refund policy, if any. PayPal has a new refund and return policy that was put in place in November to deter scams like this one. It seems that Malone followed in the footsteps of Ryan Buell. She was a huge fan of the former Paranormal State star. Buell was accused of a similar scam, and some folks believe PayPal changed their policy due to what happened. Victims are urged to contact authorities as soon as possible and make a police report with the Tombstone Marshal's Office. They can be reached at, you ready for this, guys in the States? Set his number down. 520-457-2244, and are located at 315 East Fremont Street in Tombstone. To file a report with the United States Federal Trade Commission, contact 1-877-FTC-HELP, or report can be filed online via their website. To contact fraud investigators in Petersburg, Virginia, call 804-861-1212 to speak with someone at the Crime Solvers. Well, there you guys, please be careful out there, especially in America, on this one in particular. But they seem to think that the paranormal is an easy scam to make.
The Viscount's gone a little bit too far.
What's he say?
Diabolical, shameful. She should be hung from a yardarm, hung, drawn and quartered.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but she definitely needs to be prosecuted anyway.
If you look further down, Steve, you might have seen that she's now been arrested.
Ah, that's even better.
Carol Malone arrested for Tombstone for theft of service for a paranormal scam. So she's been arrested.
That's nice to hear. I actually missed that bit, but it was. Thank you for telling me. But as I said, people seem to think that it's easy to scam paranormal.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Paranormal television changes couples' life.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Jay Yates began ghost hunting in 1998 without any particular direction, using disposable cameras and visiting historical locations by day. It wasn't until 2003 that Jay and Marie Yates started the investigation seriously. First as a two-person team in 2005, they started crossing over Paranormal Society, the cops crew. It wasn't until 2010 they decided to add more investigators. Over the years, the group has expanded, and Jay and Marie started conducting residential as well as historical investigations. And most groups do. They found it difficult to get access to all the locations they wanted to investigate. After successfully featuring on the biography channel's My Ghost Story in 2013, they found it easier to gain permission to investigate previously unavailable locations. The cops crews started to gain their notoriety through the years. The group has been on hundreds of investigations, started to speak at various conventions throughout the states of Arizona, as well as being featured on the news on numerous occasions. The Newt's crew eventually became a very well-known group throughout Arizona. Then in 2014, the Travel Channel came calling for ghost adventurers, wanted to feature Jay and Maria in an episode taking place at the Goldfield Ghost Town. I think I remember that one. In Apache Junction, Arizona, an abandoned mining town buried deep in mysterious Superstition Mountains. After filming included ghost adventures, then asked and ghost hunting duo fly to Las Vegas in order to be featured in an episode of Ghost Adventures Aftershocks. Since airing, they've had nothing but success. In fact, they've had so much success, they've had to take on people answering the phones because they're getting, in their words, a load of shite. People just ringing up trying to get them to investigate, hoping to be on telly.
Oh dear.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So it's just goes to show, if you're on TV, you can get all the properties you want within reason, but beware the double-edged sword.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, just a reminder while Steve's putting up the next one, if you have trouble with the live stream, it's not down to us, it's down to them. And if you'd just like to refresh, and we will do the same if we have problems. So just to let you know what to do.
Tickle in the throat.
Tickle in throat.
Yes.
Is that paranormal?
No.
Okay.
But when I've done this, I will have to go and get a drink.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Ghost and the supernatural. The date is January the 5th, 2010. Tuesday. Occupant Sarah Agnes Brown lives in the senior citizens cottage complex. Various occupants in this complex have crossed over into the other life. Susan says that she is sensitive, and her first paranormal experience was when she was 16 years old. Some of her experiences have been: 1. In another home while playing cards, the song Rock Your Baby came on all by itself, and visitors in her home freaked out.
Ah, take me in your arms, rock me, baby.
That's the one. Many old photographs of her family display orbs or ectoplasm. She showed me in photos, they say. In another home, she heard a voice, looked in the mirror and saw her boyfriend's deceased mother in the mirror. Her boyfriend's deceased mother was murdered, stabbed numerous times, and when Susan saw her boyfriend's deceased mother in the mirror, there was a constant loud banging sound. It sounded like a metal door slamming against the wall. Susan once encountered an African-American woman entity. She was petite. She floated around in the air. This entity grabbed her by the ankles while she lay on the bed. The entity appeared after the sound of thunder and disappeared after the sound of thunder. Susan once froze up in a restaurant during a freezing moment. She had a vision of her friend's nephew. The next day she learned her friend's nephew was shot and killed.
Not good for the other customers.
No, not good at all. Susan at times feels like she is being watched or followed. On a shower wall, she saw the words written on a steamy shower wall in August 26. The words were, there were other words, but the eligible August 26 turned out to be the date her husband died.
All right.
He obviously wasn't dead at the time. Now that Susan lives in the cottage, she feels the presence of her deceased husband at the cottage. Paranormal activity had started recently. She had a big entity lie on top of her and presses her shoulders into her body, while a little entity sat on the corner of the bed and left an impression on the bed. Because of this, she called UC Davis for help. UC Davis referred her to HPI. Well, here's got some of the findings that they did.
HPI.
HPI.
Heard them.
There was no EVPs, no photographic anomalies. I felt I had someone pull my hair while I lay on the mattress. The tucking of my hair was electrically charged. I was also touched once, on the leg, once on my lower back, and the electrical charge was felt. The conclusion, they say, is inconclusive. A full-on investigation is warranted. If Susan is a sensitive, she may have entities that are attracted to her. She is like a beacon, and the entities may have a message for her to relate to the living. Perhaps the entity goes from one cottage to another cottage. One occupant in this cottage complex says she feels like she sometimes have paranormal activity in her cottage. The occupant was quite a character, as she showed me pictures of her daughter that used to work directly for the Bee Gees. I feel like I was touched, but it could have been my overactive imagination, he says. I need to investigate this home again to make a final assessment of the situation.
I know who HPI are. I thought I'd heard of them. It's our very old friend Paul Dale Roberts, who's going to be coming on the show in the middle of August, talking about Skywalker Ranch.
No, it's Paul.
Not the Skywalker Ranch. I'm thinking of Big Bang Theory.
Oh,
I mean, the Skinwalker Ranch.
Can we go to the Skywalker Ranch?
That last time, Skywalker.
Oh dear. For those of you who don't know, the Skywalker Ranch was the home base for what's his name? The guy that wrote Star Wars.
George Lucas.
George Lucas, that's the guy.
Yeah, but he's talking about the Skinwalker Ranch.
There he is indeed. Here we go. There's your next one. Haunted household items These are the 6 spooky items found.
Mm.
I've only done about 4 here, but there was a ghost cane of Indiana, USA, where Mary Anderson's grandson saw the ghost of his grandfather in the family home. She decided to ease the boy's fears by selling Grandpa's old cane. The winning bidder was asked to write a letter to the youngster, letting him know that the cane was doing okay, and the $65,000 walking stick is now housed in Antigua's Golden Palace Casino.
All right.
Somebody pays $65,000 for a cane.
The cane is doing okay. Yeah.
Cane is doing fine. That was just for a grandson.
All right.
That was just so the grandson was okay.
Okay.
Okay. The haunted conjure chest.
Oh yes, I've heard of this.
This was South Carolina. During the middle of the 19th century, Jacob Cooley murdered a slave named Hosea for building a chest which did not meet his standards. Hosea's fellow slaves took revenge, asking a conjurer to curse the chest, leading to the death of 17 people close to Cooley, including his firstborn son. The curse was later lifted by a conjure woman, and the chest now resides in Kentucky's History Museum. Okay. Have you got haunted bunk beds in Wisconsin? The case of the haunted bunk beds became infamous in 1987 when Alan and Debbie Tellman purchased from a local junk shop, led to 9 months of terror. Radios were switched stations, and unexpectedly the children became ill, and were even sightings of a witch-like figure at night. The family reached out to a pastor for a while. The house was settled down until Christmas '88, when the talisman heard a voice beckon him to the garage, where a blazing inferno appeared before vanishing instantly. The events were so notorious they featured on the most popular US program,
Most haunted?
Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, Unsolved Mysteries.
That's
All
probably
right.
where you hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course we have the Chair of Death,
Chair of Death.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's Bayonne Mansion hosts hundreds of priceless historical artifacts, but none as famous as the Chair of Death. The 200-year-old chair is believed to have belonged to Napoleon, but the ghost which haunts the piece of furniture takes the form of a young woman named Amelia, who appears in a blue haze. The chair obtained its name after 4 people died shortly after sitting on it, and it's said that the same fate will befall anyone who dares to sit there. Now, if I'm right, this is the chair that's now fixed to a wall, about 4 foot up, so nobody can sit on it.
Right, okay.
And that, as they say,
Is that? All right. Okay.
Short and sweet today.
Short and sweet. Thank you for that, Steve.
You're welcome.
So, I'm going to throw in my 2 penneth here.
Oh, you got 2 pence.
I have a 2 penneth, seeing as we've got time.
Go for it.
Denbighshire Today, on their WordPress website on the 15th of May, broadcasted, or rather, told the world on internet, that Derek Acora was to sue Real Town Council after getting beaten up by Yobbo Ghost. A popular TV psychic was filming in Real this week for the hit TV show Most Haunted, which gave me flags straight away because I thought, well, he's not doing it. Even though it says 15th of May 2015. Sorry, 14th of May 2015. The trip was cut short, however, after he was found on the pavement of Edward Henry Street, flailing his arms and shouting inherently when passers-by eventually stopped to help. Acora claimed a gang of Burberry-clad ghosts had assaulted him and was admitted to Bodywidden Hospital. The TV star was physically unharmed and discharged himself before being seen by the psychiatric specialist. I should be free to go about my job without the threat of being attacked like this. They approached me and told me I was on their turf. All I wanted to do was find out if they had any messages for the living, he said. The only message here was Acora receiving what he claims are spiritual wounds. He has begun proceedings to sue the town hall, and while he remains optimistic of a 6-figure payout, sources close to the case are admittingly dubious. Now, I've gone on to Derek's Facebook page, and because I'll be honest with you, when I read it, I thought, well, this is stupid because he's not connected to Most Haunted anymore. Why is he filming for Most Haunted? And he's actually put on there that so many people have been in touch with me regarding a report on the internet. In fact, it's caused so much of a stir that it's had him trending on Twitter. It's a joke, people, he said, so please don't take it seriously. So that's my little two penneth. But it seemed weird though, Andy, because it mentioned Most Haunted, and he's not part of that anymore, is he? He's not, after everything that's happened, he's not going to go back, is he?
God, no. I also wonder who made the joke, because it doesn't look like he made the joke. So who was the origin of this particular story?
I don't know, but as I say, it was on Denbighshire Today. Steve noticed it first, and I said, well, he's not part of that anymore. So
I must have, if I was him, I'd be looking at suing the bleeding newspaper for the trouble given him.
Definitely.
Silly stories like that, and the jibe about this waiting for the psychiatric department. I thought was well.
Yeah, that's not very nice, is it?
Yeah.
So, but if you have seen the article, Derek is basically saying that it's not on. He's refuting it. So, but if you want to have a quick look while we're getting on our next guest, so there you go. You can have a look for yourself. There's a very horrible picture of him as well. Not a very good picture of him, I must admit.
Yeah.
So, right, okay, I'm going to play this ad, and then we're going to get our guest on for the evening. So we'll see you after these words.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
Yeah, welcome back to the show, and we should have our guest on with us now. Are you there, Stuart and Stacey?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the show. Have we got Stuart there with us?
Yep. Hello.
Hiya. Just first of all, thank you for being part of the show tonight, for giving us your time. Now, can I just ask, now you're part of a group called C.O.T.C, and can you tell us a bit about yourselves first of all, and what made you start the group up?
Yeah, sure. There was the three of us. I was then married to Stacey, and we had a good friend, Adrian, Lloyd-Briden, and the three. Sorry, it's echoing in the other computer. 2 seconds.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, basically what it was, the three of us decided that we all had an interest in the paranormal, and at the time, this was in '95 when we sat down and first talked about it. There was only really about 2 groups that we knew of in the paranormal world. And that was obviously the Ghost Club, and at the time there was a couple of sort of more smaller groups around. There was C.O.T.C Paranormal Investigators, and also the Hampshire Ghost Club was very close on the heels of that, because we used to speak to Dave Scanlon a lot. So we decided we'd do our own organisation. So we put it together what we would do. We came up with the name, and we came up with the symbol, which was courtesy of Adrian, because he was our sort of artiste.
Yeah.
And basically, we went from there. We started sending letters out to locations, asking what's the possibility of going to investigate. This was the days when websites weren't mega used, so obviously we had a small website, but it wasn't like our own like the ones they have now, .co.uk. This was one of these freebie web ones. It's good enough to load up stuff. And we went from there. Our very first sort of official investigation of any known location would have been Michelin Priory. And at the time, it was when it wasn't done every single weekend. It had only been done about 2-3 times before then. And it was good fun. To be fair, in the early days, the challenge was to get all places to let us in, and it was easier. Simple fact is, no one had spoilt the ground, no one had upset people. TV wasn't controlling the amount of money that was needed, so places like this were glad of the basic money that, say, £10 a head of a group of 20-30 people. That was a lot of money to them then. So it was quite good. That's how we started it off.
Right. And what made you get into this? What was the idea that made you think, let's do it?
Well, I mean, the three of us had an interest in the paranormal. I'd experienced something when I was 8 years of age.
Yeah.
Which made me believe there was something else out there. Didn't know what, still don't really, but there's certainly something out there. Stacey, who is a sensitive, I'll let her explain exactly what she feels, etc. She'd been ridiculed as a kid, quite badly with regards to what she could see and hear.
Yeah.
Adrian and I, she found us not ridiculed at all, which was a rarity for her, because until then people had always taken the mickey and always thought her weird or unusual or whatever. And with Adrian, he had also experienced stuff that he couldn't put his finger on exactly what it was, and we figured, why not try and prove what's out there? And we're still doing it.
Right. Now, Stacey, Stuart mentions that you are sensitive. How long have you actually had these? When did it all start for you?
Do you know what? I can't remember. I was so young.
Yeah.
There's just no. I can't even remember how old I was. But it's more like. It's like I could see the people, but I knew they weren't there. Like they were in a haze of heat. And I could, God, I'm going to hate to use this phrase, but I could hear people talking, but they weren't there, and I thought I was crazy, to be honest. But a lot of the things they were saying are actually making sense, and I did follow up on a few things, just thinking, am I just going crazy here? And a lot of things were true. But it's difficult to say. I mean, I don't really advertise it like I'm this great big huge sensitive psychic person. I don't advertise it like that. I just do what I do and get on with it.
Yeah. Right. And now C.O.T.C have taken a break, haven't they, of late? But when you were going, did you do all the recordings and during investigations and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, we did EVPs, and we did all the meters, and we recorded all the data and everything like that. And when you go to a location, sometimes you go there optimistic. You go there to basically default all the how do you say it? All the possible haunted things that have happened there. You go there as a skeptic and try to default them all.
Yeah.
And to be honest, some of them, I mean, I have to say, I've been sitting up until 3 o'clock in the morning in the dark sometimes, and absolutely nothing has happened. But I'll probably say 5% of the time, though, things do happen, and that's what you go for.
Right.
So it's not like most haunted where you go to a location and then something happens all the time.
No.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm always telling our guests that,
Yeah.
amount of people who put their hands up and say, yes, we watch Most Haunted.
No.
I don't know.
Most Haunted actually gets me quite angry, so I don't watch it.
No. Now, you was on the first episode of Scream Team, I've been told.
Yes,
That's going back a while. How did that come about, and what did you think of the way the show portrayed you?
I wasn't quite happy, to be honest. I was actually leaded on that I was actually going to be an expert, and then they put me down as a Clapham villager who's too afraid to take the kids into the woods.
Oh, God.
It's quite laughable, really, but yeah, I don't even live in Clapham, so.
Yeah, Clatham's in West Sussex, not East Sussex.
Yeah, they said it was in East West. Yeah, but yeah, I actually live probably about 5 miles away in a place called Tarring, which is in Worthing.
Right. Okay. So, what is your take on the Clapham Wood mystery, anyway?
Maybe I'll get Stuart to explain.
Stuart.
Oh yeah, I'm going to swap seats for a minute.
While she goes away and laughs.
Yeah. No, I mean, with the Clapham Wood mystery stuff, I mean, obviously, I've investigated with Charles before in the past. We no longer investigate together.
This is Charles Walker, I guess, from last week, for those who don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
That basically, it's personal why we don't work together anymore, and that's that.
Yeah.
What I find bemusing is I get called a security threat because I happen to venture the fact that possibly the mural that was taken as a photo was taken by somebody else, and when we investigated a bit further, somebody actually owned up to being one of 2 people that actually took the photo.
Right.
So I found that, unfortunately, being lied to, it hurt us, and it hurt me.
Yeah.
It was done to obviously promote the book. That's fair enough. We can, I can accept that. I can live with that. But the fact that, unfortunately, we were lied to, that was the reason why we stopped it.
It was one question that we did put to Charles last week, that wherever you look on the internet, the Clapham Wood mystery is down to him. There's no other person talking about it.
Correct. And I'll be honest, hand on heart, all the years I've been going up there, I've found 2 or 3 things that are unusual, but I couldn't swear to you that there's a definite, dark group working up there. Okay. Personally.
Right. No,
but that's only because what I've not found myself.
Okay. Well, taking you back into the old days, now, as we say, this is before the ghost hunting hype that we have today. How do you find it today compared to when you was first doing it?
Find it frustrating because locations obviously want silly money.
Yeah.
There's too many thrill seekers now. Now, don't get me wrong, we all do it to enjoy it.
Yes.
We don't do it for a business or that. Otherwise, we all be living in mansions and everything like that. There's no real money in the paranormal world as such.
No.
However, it was enjoyable with regards to going to locations that hadn't been investigated before, and it was a lot easier to get into places because of that, because no one had obviously tarred the reputation of people, etc.
Yeah.
And locations where, as I say, happy to take just a little bit of money because it was extra income. Obviously, writing a letter as well, it allowed you to be more articulate, I think is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
I find these days I have seen some, to say the least, shoddy letters that have been sent to locations. The grammar is all incorrect, the spelling's wrong. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that people might have an issue with grammar and spelling.
Yeah.
If you proclaim and want to do a location justice, i.e. if you want to go there and ask to be given permission to basically roam free at night, etc., needs to come across professional in your manner.
Yes.
And that is what frustrates me a lot. I see a lot of people that are disrespectful Certainly there's a lot more backstabbing in the paranormal world now than there ever used to be. Which obviously I like you guys, because you're trying to bridge those you're just trying to bridge that.
Yeah.
You're trying to stop all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
Also egos get in the way.
Yes.
And one thing that happens is egos are usually the first thing that get in the way, and the reason why organisations and groups split, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. We've been doing it now for just over 10 years, nearly 12 years, and the amount of animosity that's out there is ridiculous, which is why Steve and I started the KTPF, because of it. We had a bit for ourselves, and basically, instead of retaliating to the people that were targeting it to us, we decided to put it all into the KTPF and try and help others. But as I say, I don't see it as much now, but I hear about it more. People don't. Most people don't like to wear their bits and pieces, do they? Really, Steve?
No, but I do find that they're not bothered with keeping the paranormal friendly unless it's affecting them.
Yes, yeah, this is it.
Which is a problem that we're all facing, really. We should be friendly before somebody has a go at us.
Yes.
Not just afterwards,
Yeah, and now, even in the observations tonight, and we've mentioned previously on the show, people basically alienating customers, of want of a better word, members, and venues now. As I say, venues are
actually English Heritage closed their doors to a lot of things because of something that happened in the Midlands, and that was frustrating for us, because Andy will tell you one of our favourite locations was Pevensey Castle. And he's got a fantastic EVP from there, and that was the night that his microphone and little machine was almost dragged down into the oubliette. And there was at least 3 of us witnessed it, and we all certainly heard the recording.
Yeah, it's one of my first appearances on the show, Stu. I was a guest rather than a co-host, as I played some of my recordings, including that particular one, of course, a good old Roo. And what else going on there? Thinking the microphone's being pulled down the hole. Of course, it was chap from Olympic Radio was saying that sounds like, that's a noise from down there. It's not. It's close to the microphone, so someone down Lubeck with no possible access. But it was an incredible location. I mean, there's not much of the castle left, but to have it to ourselves for the night for basically nothing was unbelievable.
Well, we were entrusted with the keys. I don't think that happens anymore, personally. I might be wrong, but I don't think it happens to many if it isn't.
Now, we know that for long term they close the doors, and the next price was something like £5,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
You've got no real chance anymore of getting in those locations.
We've done Battle Abbey, we've done Bury Pomeroy, and the Pevensey was our. I won't say it's kind of our baby, but it was. We were proud at the time to get in there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of pride in it, and I know that people may or may not believe this. I honestly believe, especially in the Sussex area, we maybe helped the groups coming along later on to get in some of these locations.
Exactly. We opened the door for lots of different groups who kind of didn't.
I mean, I'm not saying they haven't done their own goodness out of everything, because I know Tim of the Pigs organisation.
Oh yeah, Tim Brown.
And again, it shows you can be nice to each other. You can talk to each other. You can get on.
Yeah.
You might not collaborate very often, but you can still get on. And you can talk to each other. I mean, we've known Andy for years, and he's left on his own thing, but we still keep in touch, and we still consider him a very good friend.
I must come and see you guys. I'm terrible.
No, I saw something.
Yeah.
Steve, did you want to say something?
The problem is we'll end up speaking for about a week.
Oh,
it won't be long enough.
No, I was just going to comment on the keys thing there. We only know of one, don't we, that gives you the keys, and you just post it back to the letterbox when you're finished.
Yeah. We've had a couple like that.
Yeah, but I think there's only one that still does it.
Yeah, this is it. So, but
So the frustrating thing for the English heritage as well was, as they were shutting their doors because of an incident elsewhere, I just negotiated a deal with Dover Castle for £400, which I was able to take anything up to 60 people to, and I was going to organise it so that Hampshire Ghost Club, at the time Andy had done IOPR, and I was trying to get 3 or 4 other groups involved as well, because it was an opportunity and a half. And it just got slammed in the face then, regardless of we'd been good enough with English Heritage and, you know, got a good relationship with them. They'd taken it, obviously, at the official level, what to do, and they said no ghost investigations whatsoever. Now, I know they have relinquished a little bit on some places, but the prices, as Andy says, are now astronomical.
This is it. Now you've mentioned a few places. Now, back in the day, you used to do week-long investigations. Now, we're always saying about going back and checking a place out so many times, you know, to get a feel for it on various days. But week-long investigation tours that came about in 2002. Can you tell us a bit about them?
Well, we were decided we're going to. Well, we just basically decided we're going to go and do a whole week holiday. Then we thought, no, actually, why don't we do a paranormal week holiday? And then we thought, no, why don't we ask the members if they want to come and do a week's holiday in the paranormal? So we basically went to approach some very known locations, and we had a radio team with us, and so we proceeded to travel during the day, find where we're going to sleep for the night, and then do the investigation at night, have a bit of sleep in the morning, and travel again the next day to the following location. And it was tiring,
I bet.
but it was so much fun. It was very good fun, and we did actually get quite a lot of results.
So, what areas did you go to? What things did you see? What activity was there?
Yeah, basically we did the places we went. We did the Mug House in, is that Gloucestershire? Yeah, Gloucestershire. Woodchester Mansion.
Yeah.
We done Dundon Hill, which is down in Dorset. Boscastle, which, sorry?
It's next to Gaston with Dundon Hill. It's literally 2 minutes from
sorry. I'm a little bit.
That was mine. I did that.
Thank you for that, Andy. Then I got Boscastle Witchcraft Museum and
Woodchester Mansion? Have you mentioned that?
I've already done that one. I'm going down to Cornwall when we did there. We did Roach Rock.
Roach Rock, yeah.
That's it, yeah, Roach Rock.
I was just trying to wrap my brains because it's 12 years ago and it's I'm getting older.
We went to Boscastle Witchcraft Museum after the flood.
No, before the flood.
Yeah, we went there on a normal visit, you know, not as an investigation. But I believe yours was the only time it's ever been investigated. How did this come about, and what was it like?
Well, I wrote to Graham and explained what I wanted to do, and he very nicely agreed. So, like I said, it was before the flood, so everything, we didn't have the sliding closing doors then.
It was a bit hectic.
It was. There was quite a lot going on actually in the Witchcraft Museum.
Nice.
To say it's, I would actually say it is haunted, definitely.
Oh God, absolutely.
Guys, would you say it was the building or the artifacts that are in there?
I think it might have been both.
Definitely both.
Do you agree, Andy?
Absolutely. We had funny enough, this is a little bit of a story, I'll just tell you. There's a guy called Steve Peterson who is involved with the museum and has written an article for a magazine called The Cauldron talking about ghosts in the museum. And I wrote to them, or emailed the magazine's editor, Michael Howard, saying that we are the only people to ever investigate there. And he passed my email on to, what's his name, Steve Peterson, and said, we've been there. And he emailed, said, oh, great, can you tell me what happened? And I said, well, I don't have a write-up as such, but I can get hold of the original recordings. And I got hold of, what's his name, from Olympic Radio. What's his name?
Steve.
Steve, yeah, Olympic Radio. Too many Steves, it's confusing. Olympic Radio, and he sent over the recordings to me. I subsequently to that managed to find the discs myself. I emailed Steve Peterson back saying, I've got the actual recordings if you'd like to hear them. I never heard back from him, which is what was a bit strange. But in since time, Graham, what's his name, no longer owns the museum.
No, he doesn't.
He sold it off. And it's from a new sort of small company now who are running it. And we've got some connections to it. I mean, a friend of mine actually knows the person, knows a person involved with it. So there's always a possibility we might be able to get down there again one day. But it was very, very interesting. If I kept asking about psychometry of the objects, well, a lot of them obviously were in the cabinets, so you couldn't particularly touch them. But we carried out a seance in the checkered floor room, which is dedicated to Western Hermetic magic, which at the time was my main thing. I've since moved on. And they had some very odd noises and phenomena there. I remember particularly hearing lots of noises downstairs, if you remember, like knocks and bangs in the downstairs of the museum, people all upstairs. And my camcorder cutting out in the weirdest way, and he's never done it before or since, just acted really strangely. But yeah, that was that and Woodchester, I have to say, was probably my highlight.
Well, we actually went back to the Boston Museum after the flood when they'd done up and they reopened and Graham was still running. We actually went and did a very small follow-up.
Oh, you did? Oh.
And yes, we did. And that was, it still had the same activity.
Excellent.
Yes, I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been since the new people have taken over.
Sometime later this year, but certainly, I mean, the artifacts are the same. Apart from one, of course, which has since been buried, which is a funny kind of roundabout story. I don't know if you remember, there was the body of a woman who died, who'd been accused of witchcraft. They actually had her body there, didn't they? And not long after we went, they finally actually buried her. Well, she was actually dug up from C.O.T.C in Essex, which is linked to the Cage, which is a location I've been to a few times as well. So there's a funny little connection going there. So we're going back from our time at Boscastle back to the Cage in Essex, because it's actually, she was, I can't remember her name, but she was the woman that was body was there and was finally laid to rest properly, not long after we did our investigation there. So that's interesting. I'll tell you one place you've forgotten, guys. Remember the churchyard?
Oh!
Yeah, we won't mention our satanic bell ringers.
Oh, well, come on. No, don't spoil the story. I can tell the story.
Yes, that all come about. That was quite funny. Steve and Paul, the guys from Olympic Radio, lovely guys, but they got very excited when they'd been to Hanbury Church one year because they saw lights at the side of the road, and they'd found what they thought was little pyramids in the churchyard, and they thought they were going to be used for some sort of ritual. So we went to investigate, and there was Andy, myself, Adrian, there's another Andy called Rue, Stacey, and Kate. Now, Kate had stayed behind that night. A few of us went up there to the church with Paul and Steve. That was the infamous night where Steve came up with the fact that the animal that he'd heard sounded like a cross between a rabbit and an owl.
Oh,
which is the reason why we all now, I have somewhere on the Facebook, I think there is an appreciation for the Rabbit Owl Society. What would it sound like? We don't know.
The rabbits are like anyway.
No. But obviously, we'd, at the time, for whatever reason, Paul and Steve had sort of come up with the idea that perhaps this churchyard was being used for occult rituals. So when we had driven back down from the church, there was a car had gone up to the churchyard. Now, the markers we found, these little pyramid markers we found, were actually their plot markers. So in other words, if a family paid for a plot of the graveyard to bury all the family in, these marked the boundaries of it. So that had been sort of kiboshed as being anything to do with ritual work. But as we drove down, and this is very late at night, this would have been about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Another car went past us with some people in, up to the church. Well, being the nosy sort of person that I am, and I can't help but I need to know what's going on.
You'll want to know. quite intriguing. Late at night, these cars are driving into the car park of a church, you think, and we've already had this supposed reports of possible satanic activity. What else are you going to think?
Yeah, that's it. So, of course, we were all excited. So the three of us, that was Adrian, myself and Andy, went back up. Well, obviously, we wanted to try and get up there without being seen or heard, because you don't want to sort of stumble into something that possibly might be going on, because you can never tell how those people will react. And we were about halfway up the driveway when the bells started ringing.
Oh, God.
We'd seen literally
the bell ringing clock.
Wait, so there've been 3 or 4 other cars have gone past me like a jag. Thinking, what the bloody hell's going on? All of a sudden, the bell just rang out. We were like, oh, okay.
So that was our satanic bell ringers.
Oh, no.
What would you say is your most significant piece of evidence?
I mean, Andy's EVP to me is quite a, quite a poignant one, because we know fine there was no way there was anything down that hole whatsoever in that oubliette. There was no way in. There was no little tunnel that a creature could have accidentally stumbled through and made that noise. It was.
Andy took a good photo actually of Woodchester Mansion, didn't he?
Took one there as well. Yes.
That was that on the week-long investigation, wasn't it?
That was.
Yeah.
I have
in the cellars.
Completely lost.
Of a woman.
Find it anywhere. It's mist, but it clearly looks like a woman in a white dress, doesn't it? Mist, and it's quite nice. Even old Robert Snow of the Ghost Club, he was the chairman, I think, at the time, or something along those lines. Was quite impressed with that. And he's been in this business for about 1,000 years, so he's seen a few things in the past. But yeah, I'm actually just trying to see if I can find the oubliette recording. I'm sure I've got it on this machine somewhere. But that was quite amazing. The whole thing was amazing. The fact that the recorder actually moved. It was just
got dragged.
I mean, it'd been sitting completely still for a while, so there's no way on earth it was just gravity. It would have started moving straight away. It was just sat there, and then it jerked forward as someone tugged on the wire. Of course, got that voice. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find it. But it was on our original show, so if everyone wants to hear it, and I can't find it at the moment, just go back to the first time I came on talking about ghost hunting, which was God knows over years ago.
We've got quite a few EVPs that actually related to what we were doing. At one point, I was actually in the graveyard with Adrian, and I was actually looking around trying to find him. And I turned around, and he was suddenly there. But when we got back, we went back on to have a look, listen to the recordings, and at the very point, because we were filming on camera as well, the very point where I was looking around to find where it was, we had an EVP saying he's behind, and he was behind me. So we've had quite a lot of EVPs actually relating to what we're doing, but not nasty, just basically telling us, helping us basically.
Yeah.
The silly things.
Well, there is another one actually that I've got that I often use when I do, because I quite regularly do Talking Ghosts now, and that was recorded at the Mug Inn. Was it called the Mug Inn? Was it called?
The Mug Inn.
Yeah.
Mug House.
Mug House, that was it.
That's it.
Remember when we were setting up for the seance on camera? There's a man's voice that says it in vegan, very clearly.
Yes, that's right. I've got that somewhere as well.
That. So again, that was on our week-long adventure, so that was really good. I'll tell you another thing, actually, which you probably don't know. Do you remember, sorry guys, I'll explain this story a little bit. Do you remember Robert Snow telling us the first time they were at the Ghost Club were there, they heard the noises that sounded like things falling off the roof, like masonry falling? Do you remember that?
Like scaffolding and...
Yes.
Yeah.
As you know, after I stopped working with you guys, I was working heavily with Fright Nights quite a bit, and I did a Fright Nights investigation with Martin Jeffrey, and Rue came along as my guest basically that night, and with a group, and we heard the same noise. And it sounded for all the world like large bricks falling off the roof. It was just strangely muffled. That was the weird thing. But the people we were with, like, oh, what's that noise? What's that noise? And we're like, oh my God, that is the actual sound that Robert Snow described. And we went outside, there was nothing. We looked in the courtyard, there was nothing. People in the main room, the one room that was complete with a big fireplace, the people taking a break, they heard nothing. It was just us. Us and the 6 guests with us heard the noise, but it was so clear. It was amazing, just to sound like heavy rubble falling off the roof. But there was nothing had moved, nothing had shifted. So that was quite impressive. So I actually heard that thing that Robert had talked about those years previously.
Now, the Viscounts made a point here by saying psychometry is imperative in any purportedly haunted location. what's your favourite thing? What do you think about psychometry? Do you have your best piece of equipment that you prefer to use? What do you work around most of the time?
Common sense.
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but that is the number one thing we tell everybody. You've got to have common sense.
Obviously,
it's all very well having all this equipment.
Yeah.
Equipment can fail.
Precisely.
And there's natural electricity everywhere.
Yeah.
So Gauss meters, you can go by them, but there is a level of where they can go wrong. But it is basically common sense.
Yeah.
You must look for all the possible reasons why is it happening before you can actually even approach onto being the paranormal.
This is it. Yeah, definitely. You know, we've been doing it for so long now. You know, I can't even count on one hand anything that we've actually caught, or you know, I think there's about 3 things that I've sat there and thought, well, I'm not sure about them, you know, and said that maybe, you know, one was an EVP of a little girl that wasn't there, you know, so that's my biggest one. But out of 12 years, I can't really turn around and say to you, oh yeah, we had this, that, and the other.
No, we can normally debunk it, can't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Saying that's the one thing that probably all of us have got the advantage of having been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Don't go run around wide-eyed silliness and think, oh yeah, everything you come across, all that's definitely ghost, that's supernatural, that's all that, absolutely. Now, I mean, you guys know I do my little talk thing about investigating the paranormal. I've got, a dozen audio recordings, and that's over, you know, not just with C.O.T.C, my own group, and dozens and hundreds almost of front night events as well. And that is all I've got. You know, that dozen or so that I am actually convinced are of an unknown cause, shall we say. I mean, I'm never going to say they're definitely people ghosts, but I can't explain them. But after hundreds of investigations, have that few, because I am convinced that those ones are genuine. But it's easy.
We've got a piece of footage, haven't we, of somewhere of something waving at the camera as you passed it round. That was actually in the graveyard, wasn't it?
That was in very early.
Oh yes,
that was in very early years.
Yeah, good old Paddington.
It was in the local graveyard, and somewhere I do have it still. I actually got it off of the tape onto a CD, and I'm hunting it like anything because I've moved last year to my friends, so I'm hunting like anything to find it, because if I can get it, then obviously I'll let the guys have a look at it.
The problem is that unless the whole world is there, you're always going to get somebody who's going to debunk something, and I think that's the problem with the paranormal. That you could have the biggest proof, but there's always like I said, you need the whole world there to prove it.
You guys have seen my Edinburgh Vaults footage, haven't you? The figure in the background, the Edinburgh Vaults footage.
I don't think I have. No.
Yeah, I'll find that is online. It's actually on YouTube. I mean, that one I know full well. I know the whole story. I won't say the whole story again, but there was only 6 of us on the investigation. I know where everybody was. It wasn't even filmed by me. It was filmed by Amanda and my wife. And it shows the shadow of a man move across the back of a chamber in the Edinburgh Vaults. Now, I know there was no one in that room at all. I know exactly what everyone was. You know, that is pretty good evidence. But everyone can say, well, no, there was someone else there. You know, there's no way of ever proving that was genuine, apart from us saying, I know it was genuine.
The thing is as well, though, Andy, I mean, it's like anything, because we know you, and you've said there was no one there.
Yeah, we trust that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
That's all it's about, is really trust, the person who's telling you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think the only thing you can do is prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
If you decide for yourself, you're like, I've seen enough now that it's genuine. You're never going to give it to anybody else. I mean, there's an old saying which exactly C.O.T.C said about no proof is enough for a non-believer, basically, and that no proof is necessary for a believer. And I've just manned it a bit, but that's basically right. And it's true. I gave up any notion or idea of proving it to anybody other than myself a long time ago, because people will make their own minds up. But I think all of us here can agree that we've seen enough over the years to say there's something going on. I'm sure most of our guests probably feel the same. But I'm always cautious to go to any kind of conclusion about what it may or may not be.
So have you ever been scared at a place, and if so, where was it? She's laughing.
Yes.
I'm not ashamed to admit it as well, but I will go towards stuff rather than run away. But I have to say there have been some times where I have sort of run very fast down corridors and said, Stuart!
Yeah. It's usually me that's scared her, actually.
Yeah. But there have been some occasions where it's, I've been very scared. But it wasn't more of seeing anything, it was more of feeling it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the worst. I mean, I don't know if it was my own fear of being in the dark. I mean, I'm not afraid of being in the dark, but you have that whole psychological thing going on when you're in the dark. Or if actually something was happening. But yeah, there's lots of times where I do get afraid. I just don't show it that well.
Right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick break while I go through the events, and then we'll come back and speak to you both in a moment. So see you in a minute.
Just post on the forum chat room the link to my Edinburgh Vaults footage. If anyone wants to have a quick look, there's no sound, so it won't affect your adverts, but you can have a look at it there. And there it is.
Right. I'll see you in a bit. Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. And first up, on the 23rd of May, we have the Lancaster Grand Theatre. For more details, you can visit www.itsparanormal.co.uk. On the 23rd also, and the 24th, there's a Mind, Body and Spirit event in Crewe at the Alexandra Stadium at Cresty Road, Crewe, CW2 6EB. Also, then on the 30th of May, Trencherfield Mill Engine, Wigan. Trencherfield Mill Engine. For more details, see www.itsparanormal.co.uk. And also on the 30th, the Redoubt Fortress. And you can find out more about that and other events by visiting Trident Paranormal. Don't forget, Derek Akora still doing his psychic event tour and continues across the UK. I haven't updated that bit. And Tony Stockwell is doing his tours throughout the UK, and his next one is on the 27th at the Waterside Theatre, Aylesbury. For more details on these and other events, visit paranormaleventsforyou.com. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, and welcome back to the KTPF Community Talk Show. We're live here from Manchester, and Andy's over there in Essex. And we're talking to Stacey, Lloyd-Briden and Stuart Logan of C.O.T.C Paranormal down there in, did you say East or West Sussex?
West Sussex.
West Sussex, I knew it was one of them. Now, before we talk more about the group, I was wondering, what would your alternate location be to investigate?
Oh, I don't know. Stuart? What do you reckon?
Well, until the recent years, it had been Bury Pomeroy.
Oh, yeah.
Bury Pomeroy had been difficult to get into. I'd sent a letter every 6 months for about the last 10 years asking, and all of a sudden we got a yes to go in there. Oh. So now...
So we've done that now.
I suppose, for me, Alcatraz is always an interesting one. And it's all done on a lottery basis.
Yeah.
You submit your request and see if you're lucky.
Right.
But there's also, to me, the battlefields in America.
Yeah. Like Gettysburg. And...
Yeah. It just gone out of my head, the name of the one. I was thinking of it, but it's Gettysburg, yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose from my point of view now, that would be that, because I know the Tower of London is a definite no-no.
Yeah, I know. Steve would love to go
I'm working out how to get thrown in there, apart from treason, which gets you, unfortunately, executed.
Yeah.
There's no way of getting in there.
I don't know. Now, you've been quiet for a while, obviously. How long have you been sat back and out of the public eye?
Since Adrian passed,
right, okay.
Sadly.
Yeah.
In October 2011.
Right, okay.
It-
I believe you're
knocked
thinking of coming
the wind
back.
out of us. Big
I
time.
can imagine it did. Are you thinking? Are you coming back?
We technically we've never been away.
Right, okay.
We withdrew the website.
Yeah.
For a while because we just couldn't put the time or effort into keeping it up to date.
Yeah.
And as I say, we put on hold the investigations following what had happened. However, I still go out and about myself. I still look into the occult stuff. I still look into UFOs.
I think what Stuart's trying to say is that we've been lurking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good at.
But we are coming back, yes.
Right.
I can't give you an exact date, but we are coming back.
Right, okay. Will you
So
let
watch
us
out.
know when you're back so we can let the world know that's listening?
Yes.
So, that would be good. And maybe you can do an article for our magazine, for our groups page. That would be good.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So yeah, guys, if you could do a short write-up about yourselves, send an email over to me, my email address, and I'll include it in next month's group focus.
Okay, then.
Yeah. When would you need that by, Andy?
Well, I've got this month's done, so sort of before the end of June, basically, so plenty of time.
Okay, cool.
That'd be great. It's only literally sort of 100 words, if that really, 50, pictures, that's fine.
It will end up in a magazine sooner or later. So, obviously, we'll put it in as when you come back or when you're on the precipice of coming back. I couldn't get my words out then. So,
Sure.
Go on, Andy.
Is it the precipice of coming back? You sure about that? You know, I think somehow. Actually, I've got a couple of questions because obviously I kind of lost contact with you guys, for example, about 10 years ago. For no really specific reason. I just got more and more doing stuff, obviously, with
Life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Fright Night's paying me got in the way, to be honest with you, which was quite nice. Then did IPR for a bit, but that one was sort of. I found myself doing, as you guys probably know, it's like doing everything, all the organising, all the events, and all the write-up. Why am I doing all this on my own? I thought, stop, anymore. But I know you've got some new people involved, and it did sound like things are really moving on quite nicely. So it will be good to see you guys back up and running and sort of around. Because you guys, us, we predate all those other people. We've been doing it.
We do. Yeah. We do predate everybody. Well, not everybody, but quite a lot of people.
Virtually, what's left running now? I mean, as I say, Ghost Club, and even Scanlon's Hampshire Ghost Society has been rather quiet of late as well. I mean, we predate. Ghost UK got very big for a while, but we kind of predate even them.
I think at one stage we had nearly 60 members.
Yeah, absolutely.
All at Michelin Priory, I remember that.
We took 42 to Michelin Priory.
Well,
that was a nightmare of the logistics, that was.
We did it, though.
We did it, yeah.
With Andy's help as well.
Yeah, I remember
team leader.
That one, Kathy's photograph, you remember that one? An incredibly strange picture. She took in the monk's room, remember it? Weird thing. It's still on Ghost Club's website's page, although she's found it. I've tried to get hold of both Kathy and I think Robertson's probably passed away by now.
Well,
hold of both.
Kathy, bless her, apparently had said that we had been touched by the velvet finger of the occult.
Fine.
We'd had many rumours said about COTC because our symbol, as you know, is a protection symbol. However, people misinterpret it.
When that was said, I didn't know if I was actually supposed to be offended or grateful.
But certainly, I mean, the COTC symbol, those who've not seen it before, it was a pentagram but drawn the right way up, as it were, with the four elements top, bottom, left, and right. So, I mean, that was nothing wrong with it at all, but people often get completely the wrong idea about these sorts of things and jump to all sorts of conclusions. As I mean, I've told you before, I've had a few occasions when I was doing the mediumship for Fright Nights, being accused of being a devil worshipper and a satanist. Nonsense, It's,
that only when there's only 4 of you in the room.
Well, yeah.
Only the 4 of us.
But, we certainly did some very interesting stuff. You and I, Stu, we used to go up to, what's that place? We were outside
Down.
You what again? Say again?
I downhill.
Oh, that's it. Yes, yeah.
And that was weird because the wind, the way it reacted round the pit, that was really weird.
I remember that one quite well. And of course, one of the funny things was, whenever we went out to a location that turned up to be a bit naff and we told us to go back, we went back to your house, the sound is there because there was so much going on in your house.
Yeah, including our remote viewing of Pevensey Castle one.
Absolutely.
Or as Steve from Olympic liked to call it, Pevensey.
Yeah.
After we just told him it was Pevensey. Yeah.
Calling it that. 'Cause that was fun. How did that all come about, by the way, with the Olympic radio?
They actually was about they sent me an email regarding Clapham Wood.
Ah.
Yeah, they're very interested in Clapham Wood, and they wanted me and Adrian to show them around Clapham Wood. So we did, and from then we ended up having a really good friendship.
Yeah, I mean, they came to loads of different locations. It was almost Blair Witch Project like with the camera and the audio, wasn't it? It was. I kept thinking back then we could make a film with this, and then it turns up, so it was done for us, as it were. But I remember sitting down in the cinema watching that film, thinking this seems so familiar. What is kind of?
Well, we're still in contact with Olympic Radio as well, so it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to him very recently, trying to get hold of the recordings from Boscastle. As I said, the guy who actually wanted to hear them just never came back to us. I thought, oh, I won't bother them. But yeah, that was the other thing. How did that Scream Team program actually come about? I can't even remember.
I just got an email asking about Clapham Wood and could they come and talk to me about it. So a researcher came and talked to me about it, and then I got obviously put on the program and got told to go into the woods and say everything about it, and it's amazing how they can cut and edit stuff.
Oh, God, I think they actually made themselves look rather silly, because you went onto their website, it had you down as a paranormal expert, so obviously the same person.
Well, even Phil Wyman, he said to me that he's absolutely disgusted with the way that they treated me, but it's one of those things. I'm not, don't worry too much about it.
Ridiculous. And the other one, of course, that absolutely enraged me when I read it was good old Will Parfitt, or what his name was.
Will Storr.
Storr. That
actually, Stacey, I thought came out the only one that came out with any credit in that book.
That was disgraceful.
I did like his manic depressive cat comment.
I'm
manic depressive cat, Spiky, at the time. Bless her.
She wasn't depressive.
No. She was just lazy, in fact.
It was a bit of a strange cat occasion, I must admit. He used to attack me on more than one occasion.
Well, my children used to think you lived at the railway station. So
well, do they still think I live there?
Yeah, they probably.
Kimberly still calls you Andy Pandy.
Yes.
Oh, lovely, that's nice. How old are they?
All the secrets are coming out now. See?
Oh, no. How old are they now, those two?
17 next month.
Good God. Time has flown by, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was about 10 years ago, so they were like 7, and they thought I was a very strange person who hid from the station. Which is quite funny.
I bet you feel old now, Andy.
Say again?
I bet you feel old now.
No, absolutely. I feel old anyway today. I think this makes me old. But I remember, because that's how I found you guys, of course, to do my own research on Clapham Wood again, because obviously I'd come from the other end of things, been involved with Andy Collins at Earthquake, as we talked about last weekend previously, and you guys didn't know me from Adam, were kind of invite me down to stay out for the weekend, and I thought, oh, brilliant stuff. Because the funny thing was, and I'll always remember this, I'd also been invited the same weekend to join a group who were sort of interested in the runes and the Viking stuff, and we were doing like a day trip out to the woods, nothing strange, just sort of nature stuff. And I thought, if I go with to C.O.T.C in South Essex and South England rather than have fun with them, or go up to North London with these the Nordic group. And I thought, no, I like the idea of the ghost hunting. And I often wonder if I'd gone with the other group, what would have happened?
Well, we're glad you didn't. We're glad you came here.
I think it was much more fun working with you guys. And yeah, I mean, I'd had, my own experiences prior to joining with you guys, but I never had a chance to kind of really develop what I could do until I was working with you guys. And that was great fun for me. Always loved that. So,
we loved having you.
It was good fun. I'll have to get down to you guys sometime. We'll get eventually. It's just, that's what I say, it's finding the time. Most weekends we're doing stuff with family, or Sunday nights I think these two strange people I run into, I can't remember what their names are, who drag them to their radio show every week. I forget who they are now. But I love doing the show. It's great fun, absolutely. I kind of feel like I'm taking over here, guys. Has anyone got any questions?
Just enjoying listening to the three of you.
It's terrible. It's not reminiscent about times gone by. But do you remember the week-long trip? I must admit, Rue and I occasionally meet up. We often talk about it. We stayed on one place that we had no idea it was going to be like. It was next to the pig farm Remember the aroma of the pig farm?
Oh yes, and I remember during the day when we got there, you guys all went off to Glastonbury, and I was actually stayed behind with cake and cooked the dinner. And I think we used all our perfume up and all our deodorant, spraying all the curtains and everything. So when we came back, it was a little bit more fresher.
The funny thing was, of course, Charles, who was, I guess, last, it was going to join us, not to pull out at the last minute, and a guy called James Key joined us, and he was. Do you remember that night, Stuart? He came and was telling us various stories. We thought, this guy is just hilarious.
Yeah.
But that, so
He was a good lad.
Yeah. Lost
I think
contact
he
with
went
him.
to work in Sweden for a while.
Well, he did, and then he was working there most weekends, so that's why he stopped being involved in my group for a while. But he got in contact with me, oh God, a couple of years ago, and we were going to come down to probably one of the last things you guys did before Adrian passed away, and he contacted me literally like a day before, saying something's not really working, can't do it, and that's the last I heard from him. I never heard from him again, which is very strange.
It's a shame.
He used to contact me a few months, he'd kind of pop up out the blue and say, oh, what the hell's going on? Do you want to go have a wander around and see if you can find any ghosts and stuff?
Well, it's like yourself and Martin Jeffrey and his wife suddenly appearing at the woods one night.
Everything leads back to Clapham Woods.
Yeah, everything leads back to Clapham, doesn't it?
I know. I was talking with, obviously I was talking to Charles about that last week when we went up there. The last time I tried to investigate anything up there, ended up running into 3 different groups, 2 of which were ghost investigators. One group was doing dogging, so it wasn't quite what we were expecting, but there we go.
I'm very glad we were not the dogging group, thank you.
I fully believe that Clapham Wood actually probably it is haunted.
I think it definitely is haunted.
But regarding things that have been portrayed in certain books and things, no, I have the evidence. No, it's not happening.
And I think one of the things we were talking about again last week was that the fact that it's become so well known for that kind of activity, there are bound to be groups in there that use it now. There are bound to be full-on satanic groups to go there now because of its reputation, creating its own mythology, if you like. But fair enough. Well, the reality of it, we'll probably never know the full truth, but I do find it itself is a fascinating place, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, one thing Charles didn't mention last week, which I've done search again, there was another Clapham village that disappeared.
There was.
The woods. It's actually in the woods. It's somewhere. And there's no physical evidence left of it. It died out. But
I think quite a lot, I mean, maybe, I don't know if it's known or not, but we actually know quite a lot of the truth now. Like, we actually have first-hand evidence, written evidence. We have evidence that could, but yeah, it's not happening.
Sure. From the state of a radio station, for the state of balance, I will say, if Charles, you have comments of your own to make, you're more than welcome to your phone in or use the message boards or whatever, if you want to put your side across the things, that's one of the reasons why radio shows balanced conversation. But changing the subject slightly, I remember, now I can't remember his name, the guy used to say he had his spider senses used to tingle. Do you remember the night we went with him and his 4x? What was his name? You remember? Half dozen kids. We had the 4x.
We used to call him Spider-Man.
Yeah, we just called him Spider-Man. We forgot his real name because of it.
I always remember that night when we drove basically across from Sisbury Ring to Chanterbury Ring in his 4x4. Remember that bouncing on through the
yes, I remember
everything. That was
now Chanterbury Ring's quite interesting actually, because there's been quite a few things going on up there, and there's a few sort of haunted, strange things that have happened up there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I was regaling my story a few weeks back when it was just myself and my friend Richard were doing the show the night that I went up there with a few other people, and we observed a car coming into the car park, which didn't go anywhere other than to the base of the hill. And then the car, after 10 minutes left, we got to the top of it, to cut the story a bit shorter. We found a large tree stump burnt out with runic-like symbols carved into it. Now, I know runes, and they weren't actual runes, they were like little bind runes. And we made a mental note of them, with photography equipment, unfortunately. But by the time we got back down to our car, the same symbols had been drawn in like the dirt on the windscreen. Exact same symbols, so we knew full well that whoever burnt those into the tree stump had people in the car that left the car park while we were up there. So, yeah, I mean, personally speaking, I know definitely that activity up there. I've got a recording, which I can't find anymore, unfortunately. It's on my old video recorder and camcorder, which I don't have the machine anymore because it broke down. Of a man's voice. If you remember, we were having a conversation about just ages Adrian's person was, and Stuart was definitely, I know Stacey was, but Stuart was definitely with us. And on my recording, there's a man's voice that says just 32 very clearly. And it wasn't any of us, and none of us were 32 at the time. So that was one thing that place sticks in my mind about, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some interesting times up there. I mean, we've had the smell of sulphur before.
Yeah.
A real big stench of sulphur. I've had the smell of burning flesh personally as well.
Lovely.
Unfortunately, I because of where I was brought up as a young kid, I know what burning flesh actually smells like. And it's not nice. Yeah, so it wasn't like I accidentally smelt something else. I knew exactly what it was. And we've had EVPs up there that I think Stacey's been called about just about every name up there. She was told, put the light out, bitch. Sorry, I'm allowed to say that on the radio. Just
yeah.
9 o'clock.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Have it at the start, guys. Don't worry.
All right. The other one was Hyde, and that was when we got that smell of the sulphur. Hyde, he's coming was another. It didn't come together. It was Hyde, and then there was another recording a little bit later that said he's coming.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit unnerving, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So we got out of the ring, at which point one of the camera lads for Olympic Radio ended up with a bruise on his face. Stacey's been slapped a few times up there.
Oh yeah, I had marks on my face.
Yeah, the mark on your face where it looked like someone had hit her with a hand, an open hand.
Oh,
and I was nowhere near her at the time. The Lord. So yeah, it's Chanterbury for me of the two. It is the more interesting, certainly at the moment.
More sinister of the two. Yeah, it's Chanterbury. And Clapham's the one that gets the real
publicity. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, one thing I like Charles to put up, which he hadn't, which I have heard, is the actual recording of his friend. He mentioned it last week of the guy actually being pulled off the ground. Do you remember him talking about that?
Yeah, that guy. I mean, obviously we know young Dave, who used to investigate with him, and obviously he's had experiences up there as well. But certainly he was there that evening and said the guy had been muttering about or yelling or no more type thing.
Did he say that did he go off the ground though?
I don't think he saw him go off the ground, but he heard him yell. He certainly heard him yell.
From what the member was saying, clearly he was, whoever it was being restrained by something, and he was, no, leave. And you can hear there's definitely distress in his voice.
Panic to the voice, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just trying to think of anything else we can talk about. Some of the more interesting places we did, things like, what's the name of that church with a very old tower? It goes back to Saxon.
St. Mary's?
Yes, with the Saxon Tower. It was that night we had this really strange feeling something was coming, and it didn't happen in the end, did it? But we all had this sense of something was coming, and it was coming out of the ground. It was right unpleasant.
Yeah. It was a bit weird, that one. It's one of those where, as you say, it felt like something was about to happen, but nothing actually fully happened.
Yeah.
It's just the anticipation of it, I suppose.
Absolutely. I remember. Well, that week trip, I think I'll never forget that. It was such a fantastic time. I mean, it was miserable, but it was great fun. Definitely.
Yeah. Guys, why do you think places like the Ring are as active as they are?
Well, certainly because of the ley lines that cross there, for one.
It used to be a Roman fort.
It was a Roman, obviously, fort.
And there is genuine evidence of ritual activity of a non-present nature. There's actually photographs of stuff that they had found, and not created, definitely had found, that was actually in place there, because I know other people who have seen stuff up there as well.
And they've heard people have heard chanting of monks, and things like that.
It's a location that has got more than one person giving first-hand evidence of events and occurrences. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, I know what you guys have said, and we've had a conversation obviously previously about it. But the Clapham stuff, there's something about Clapham that's odd. There's no two ways about it.
I think it's definitely haunted. There's something.
Yeah, I mean beyond.
I mean, it could be the plague pits and things that were
Absolutely.
because that's in there.
That's what I mean. I would say beyond merely haunted, which sounds dark to say in itself, but beyond more than just haunted. There's something damn weird about it. I was getting a story of my own experience a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, actually, back in the days when I was with EarthQuest. I was there with a friend called Jason, and we were walking through the woods, and 3 people approached us, walking through the woods, and it was 2 women and a man. No, sorry, 2 men and a woman, and they were dressed in evening gowns. No, there's 2 women and a man, dressed in a tuxedo, and the woman was in full evening dress. Forward in the middle of the night, going from nowhere in particular to nowhere in particular. Which was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it is bizarre, as you say, but, I mean, it wouldn't be impossible that people local to the area would have been using it as a cut-through.
This is the problem, and actually,
it's highly unlikely, but it's not impossible.
Well, I've identified it again by actually in the article I've got, because I've got some chances writing about the history of the place. A photograph, aerial photograph of Clapham Wood, and I can remember where we were when we saw the 3 figures, and they were walking towards Clapham Village, but they had come from nowhere for miles, almost directly north. The nearest village is to the right, I think it would be, as you look aerially looking down.
I was about to say, northwise, it would be, the only way would be if they'd come from Findon.
Yeah,
walked along the Long Furlong, or the path that comes up of the hill and comes in at the back of Clapham, that then brings you in from the sort of east side of the church.
Well, that's quite a long walk. It wasn't Finland you just said, was it? It's in Scandinavia, Finland.
No, Findon. Yes. That would be a slight walk, yes.
Well, we're talking a couple of miles. You know, these guys are dressed as if they just walked out of some very swanky restaurant or sort of, evening soiree, which is truly bizarre.
It is bizarre. As you say, it's unusual.
Absolutely. So, I think it's, I mean, we're dangerous to go off in reminiscence land and leave our unfortunate audience behind at this rate. So, So head back to the studio.
Yes, it's been riveting conversation we've been listening to here. About your antiques, Andy, with these 2 guys. So basically, all I would ask is if you would let us know when you're due back, when you come back. Yeah, so we're
officially that.
Officially, yeah, if that's okay.
I dare say Andy will probably get an investigation invitation anyway, because it's we want to do a couple of the older stuff again.
Right, just to go back.
Yeah.
So somewhere as simple as like going back to Darrington.
Going back to the
maybe
roots.
do another week-long investigation.
Oh God.
Problem is, you're a lot bloody older.
Hey, bit old for that. I love the B&B, I think, rather than sleeping in the tent.
Yeah, B&B it.
We were based in like sort of mobile homes, man. I can't.
Caravans that shook in the wind.
That was it. I mean, I'm just trying to remember. I remember obviously not we was there with James and having a good laugh, but we must have stayed in caravans every night. I can't honestly remember. Did we?
Did.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, if we didn't. Well, I wouldn't have camped anyway, but it wasn't camping. It wasn't B&Bs. It was caravans. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
And obviously, being off season, they were, to be honest, they were cheap.
It was, Jim. I mean, it was bloody cold, but it was damn cheap as well. So
yeah,
both really kind of kept ourselves warm by just sort of being 6 people in a small caravan. Really, not doing anything untoward, just sort of being warm. Really, pardon me. It was great fun.
Okay, well, as I say, thanks again for coming on the show, guys. It's been great talking to you, and we look forward to you coming back.
And don't forget to send Andy that write-up for the magazine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, you take care. Keep in touch with us anyway.
Do tune in, guys. I want you to tune in. I want to know you're here. I want to see Stuart's name in the chat room.
Yeah, I think you'll get me in there regularly now.
Oh, that's good. Well, you take care, and we look forward to seeing you in the chat room and in future days.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Bye, Stacey. Bye, Stuart.
Bye.
Bye.
Here, guys.
Okay, so that was Stacey and Stuart, and we look forward to them coming back on the scene again, even though they said that they have been there lurking in the background. So, isn't it?
And TT missed it all. He's only just got in.
Yeah, he's only just got in. Never mind. So,
We're on the replay as always, though. So.
yeah, there's always a replay. So, you enjoyed your catch up there, did you, Andy?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was the great guys. As I say, it was back in those days. There was just a few groups, and I was lucky to fall into working with these guys. It was great because I used to live in London at the time. So, come sort of Friday after work, I'd jump on the train down to Worthing, spend the weekend there, or maybe on Saturday morning, get the train down, sort of do investigations Saturday night, and sort of hang around till sort of early afternoon, late afternoon, bugger off back up to London. Yeah, it was great fun.
That's good then. So, now why am I repeating myself? I don't know, I started hearing myself again.
In your head, I'm afraid. No one else heard it.
Pardon?
It was only in your head. No one else heard it.
Oh, that's all right then. Right, just to let you know what's happening next week, we have David Farrant on the show via Skype. He's president of the British Psychic and Occult Society. We've gone all occult this month. First came to national attention in 1970 as a result of his involvement with the infamous Highgate vampire panic. Highgate Cemetery was constructed in 1839, but by the 1960s it had fallen into neglect and decay. Stories started circulating that the cemetery was haunted, and newspapers started reporting England's first vampire in over 100 years. In David Farrant's best-selling book on the subject, Beyond the Highgate Vampire, David claims that ley lines may be an important factor that have been left completely out of the Highgate equation. We find out more about the history of this famous Gothic story, and also talk about his up-and-coming Highgate Vampire Symposium, which will be on in July 2015. I haven't quite got a date, but we'll find out more about that next week.
Aren't you thinking of going to that one, Andy?
Possibly, yes. I'm going to sort of take the evening off, as it were. I might see if I can sneak a free ticket for them, say I'll come in and report it on the show for them. So I'll have to do David next week. You never know. But I would like to. I mean, it's only up the road from North London. I can get there, and the thing finishes about 8 o'clock. I'll probably be back for the second half of the show anyway. It's not that far to get back.
Yeah, and you can tell us what happened.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll maybe report live.
So, but as I say, that would be quite interesting to find out more about this infamous story. And from what I can work out, that this legend has gone on for so many years. But I think even David Farrant said it doesn't actually exist.
It's just an interesting story, as I say. One of those ones that it was really sort of late 70s. The media really got their hand on it, and sort of the more sensationalist press decided to sort of run with the story. You know, it's almost at random which stories the press decide they're going to focus on or not. And again, as usual, stories get twisted out of shape and out of form. And I know that he's worked with another guy who investigating this stuff that they don't even. I mean, I'm not going to mention the bloke's name because I know they just do not get on with each other whatsoever. And it's just, unfortunately, these things happen. You know, different angles, different stories come along. But I think they would be the first to say that it's not quite as the media is portrayed. It never has been as the media is portrayed it. I mean, I think it's good to have people like Dave Farrant come on and tell their story, because it needs to be heard from the horse's mouth, rather than just second or third hand stories.
Do you think that a vampire of some description actually exists?
Well, it's an interesting question because it would depend very much how you define it. I mean, I would say, psychologically speaking, there is certainly something to the idea of a person who makes you feel like you've been almost drained of your own sort of vitality, like your own mental energy. People could be very draining. Now, whether it's because they just irritate the hell out of you, you just want to get away from them because they're annoying, or there's something going on deep psyche in terms of actually affecting you because they are kind of negative people or they are draining, then it's possible. I mean, I don't think vampires as the guys who bite your neck and lick your blood. That's nonsense. But the idea of a person who's like a psychic vampire who drains you emotionally, then yeah, I think it's a phenomenon. I mean, it's real because it's at both levels of, your as a personality that you don't get along with, makes you feel crap after you've been with them for a while. You could describe that as sapping your energy, or literally sort of affecting your own electromagnetic field around you, making you feel negative and unhappy. So,
yeah, because we do know there are people that like to drink blood.
Yes, it is an actually identified psychological illness where people do believe they are vampires. It's actually got,
albeit by the glass and not actually biting someone's neck.
Well, mind you, people do that as well.
Oh God, there have been cases of psychopathic vampires who believe they are vampires who do drink directly human blood, cutting open the wound and licking it and things along those lines. There was, and I'm trying to remember the guy now, it's gone up here, but there was a vampire type person who did exactly that, who actually was biting and trying to suck blood from people. Why can't I think there's a demon on your desk, Sue?
Pardon?
Viscount says there's a demon on your desk. I don't quite know
There was.
What was it?
It's a demon pussycat.
It was a demon pussycat.
Oh, you're familiar. Haha, I see.
My familiar, yes. So, yes,
But yes,
she
that's
decided to
as
come up
far
and
as
say hello.
for definite that there is certainly a psychological vampirism. Again, I would say that the most that Dave would probably say, I'm trying to preempt our interview next week, but I think Dave would say we were dealing with a ghost, some ghostly presence that was in the Highgate Cemetery. Because the area, in fact, it was most often seen, which is the Egyptian area, itself is very, very strange. I mean, I've been there a few times. Again, when I used to live in London, sort of place to visit at the weekend, there's nothing else to do, have a good wander around. And if you're lucky enough to get to Highgate towards the end of the day in the middle of winter, sometimes it'll be getting dark by the time the tour finished, and you can imagine the atmosphere was like then. But it's very much a case of guided tours only in the old cemetery, and absolutely no possibility of ever doing a ghost investigation there, because the people just don't want to know. They're not interested in that kind of thing. Now, whether unfortunately it's because of the Highgate vampire story or not, I don't know. But certainly, I tried a number of occasions to contact them, and even the Ghost Club I've tried and been turned away. So even though the Ghost Club were willing to pay a few quid, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Most Haunted didn't try to get there and were still turned down. So it wouldn't surprise me at all.
We do know someone does ghost walks there, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. They had their own events, yes. They do their own events. But you
Flecky Bennett.
Yeah, old Flecky Bennett does it.
Yes.
You wouldn't be able to get in there yourself as well to do your own investigation. You'd have to very much follow their ways. I mean, I'm just scanning through at the moment Dave Farrant's own site and to come across a headline from front page of The Sun from 1974. King with Black Magic guilty. Judge talks of scared witnesses, and it's Dave Farrant. I mean, they're saying the King of Black Magic is standing wearing a rosary with a crucifix at the end of it.
Yeah.
Imagine you would not be wearing a rosary with a crucifix. So you don't know what they're talking about. You know.
Apart from the eerie nature of the of Highgate at night, is there anything in that area that would lend itself to it being paranormal?
Well, other than the fact you've got one of the most densely populated graveyards in the world, no, specifically that I can be aware of. I mean, you talk about the top of a hill, so the chances are there may well be sort of pre-Christian stuff. There could be pagan sites there, or Iron Age fort, or something along those lines. But certainly the very fact you've got this incredibly crowded graveyard, I mean, literally to the point that bodies, bones would break through the surface and have to go, if there's a heavy rainstorm, you have to go around and collect the bones as they come to the surface. It was so buried. I mean, you're talking about sort of generation upon generation buried on top of each other to the point that we're virtually on the surface already. And at the time, you could easily get into the vaulted sections with the tombs were there, and just wander into the tombs and take whatever bones you wanted. And it was well known. It was easy to access.
Yeah.
The group that now runs Space Talk, the charity that was set up to look after basically the other cemetery, the New Highgate Cemetery, you can wander around on your own, but it is only relatively recent. Its most famous occupant, by the way, is Karl Marx, of communism. He was the New Highgate, but the old Highgate, as I say, you can only do the tour groups. And the fact is, it is so full, you can't go anywhere other than on the paths, because it is so full of tombs. But yeah, I mean, that's why I would say it's haunted, because there's so many bodies. You could imagine sort of a spirit, not I like that term, it must be an entity, an energy, not like being crowded in with other people, saying, hey, this is my bit of space. So I think the most likely is that we are dealing with a ghostly presence there that is kind of distorted. But obviously we'll let Dave tell his story when he comes on next week.
Yes, definitely.
And of course, with it being easy to obtain bones and get in the crypts and stuff, it left it wide open to the what I would call the traditional Satanist black magic type of stuff.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. But I mean, one thing we need to be very clear on, though, is I'm just putting a picture up now, which is Dave Farrant's own site. That is actually what's called the Egyptian corridor. It's the Egyptian section we were talking about. And if you look at that image, it just gives you an idea of how atmospheric the place is. And you can see it's incredible, isn't it? And there's about 6 of these. You've got a central section which you can walk around with a huge tree in the middle of it, and there's about 6 of these corridors lead off. And it's very cleverly distorted perception because one end is larger than the other, so it's not as long as it looks. It's very cleverly made. It's actually quite short, only about 5 or 6 tombs each side, but it gives the impression of being enormous. So it's an incredible location in that respect.
Yeah.
But,
I would assume it's quite easy to get lost there as well.
It certainly would have been in the dark for definite, but even in the daylight you could easily get lost. But yeah, I mean, we have to be clear that there are more than just satanic people who like to use bones for rituals. I mean, those who know something of sort of some voodoo practices which you wouldn't call evil or satanic, that they do involve the use of bones. There is a lot of folk magic actually, which again is not evil or satanic or dark, particularly in Scandinavia. It involves use of bones and graveyard material for protection. It's not the negative work at all. In fact, I mean, one particular book I have, which I'm very proud of, which is very rare and a very expensive book, called The Graveyard Wanderers, which is actually just graveyard-based ritual magic from Scandinavia that was reproduced by a publisher called the Society of Historic Endeavours, and it's fantastic. The book itself is a piece of art in its own right. It's an amazing book, but it contains dozens and dozens of spells and charms and magic, most of them based around graveyard work with human bones and graveyard earth and that sort of thing. But by no means are they evil spells. In fact, some of them are specifically to fight against evil spells. So it's a great area, shall we say. I mean, there's a place in Essex where you can actually buy human bones. Quite legally, quite above board, because as long as they're more than 100 years old and can't be directly traced to a particular person, then it's perfectly legal to sell them. Because basically the law is such that if a person can be identified by their bones, then that's not a good thing. You can walk into this particular shop and seeing a skull with like 3 gold teeth at the front and thinking, my man had 3 gold teeth at the front. Oh my God!
Yeah, so did I. I don't know whether anybody else heard that breathing.
No, probably me waffling too much. We got in the way. But,
oh my God, it was quite eerie. Steve's just gone down to see if my Aunt Joni's come down the stairs, but it was like.
Let's be talking about graves. That's
Oh, I've got to live here. Well, what with bloody things going missing last week and then turning up right in the middle of the bed.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened with that watch. That's when she frightened me last week.
Yeah.
Because I was so engrossed in the show and I felt something touch my hand. And when I looked round, she's standing there in a nightie, so everyone has a glimpse of my auntie.
What have we just stuck up, Andy?
And
you're else that's short enough because it hasn't worked. But did she not realise you were doing a live show with cameras?
She didn't know about the cameras. But she said to me, she just couldn't stop laughing. I don't know whether you lot saw it, but she said the look on my face,
Well, not just the look, you actually screamed.
I know I screamed, but the look on my face, it was like, she said, and you go looking for ghosts, she said. But that was a really horrible sound, and it weren't you because you were talking,
No, that was definitely heavy breathing.
It was like, oh God.
It was me talking about graveyards. There we go. That's an image of the Graveyard Wanderers book that I am very pleased to say I own.
Yeah.
If you look, that's actually, we use the skeletal hand, the bones, that is actually copper. It's inlaid into the book itself.
Right.
Pretty pleased with that.
So that's what's coming up anyway next week is David Farrant talking about the Highgate Vampire.
And my book.
And your book. Your book. That's not coming up next week, is it? So
saying that the point I'm making is just because people might use bones for ritual, so there's evil or satanic necessarily.
Okay. So are you ready to go into your bit in a moment?
Yep, I need to go over to
Okay, well, just before you do, we just want to let you know that Man, Myth and Magic is a specialist in second-hand books.
Where I got the book from?
What?
You got the book wrong.
What wrong? Man, Myth and Magic is specialist of second-hand books on a range of topics from the paranormal to witchcraft and magic. A specialist second-hand occult and esoteric book site which also specialises in paganism, alternative religions, mysticism, earth mysteries, folklore, the supernatural, archaeology and ancient history. For more details you can visit manmythandmagic.com. Don't forget, KTPF is supported by the Phenomena magazine and Beyond Parazine, which is available online now. And on the subject of magazines, don't forget that issue 2 of the KTPF magazine is out now, and you can either read online or download your own copy via our website. Just hit Online Magazine, which you will find on our menu bar. And don't forget, we all are always looking for contributions from people who's within these subjects, i.e. showcasing groups, highlighting haunted venues. So if you're interested in contributing to the KTPF magazine, then send your articles to editor@ktpf.co.uk. And if you like what you're listening to, then don't forget to follow us via Facebook or Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll find all our past shows dating back to 2012. And now, I think I'm losing my voice. Now it's time for this. The Andy Files.
Hey, just saying that book, The Great World Wanderers, I got that from Man with the Man. Thanks to Richard, sir. Anyway, here's my first story of the week.
Okie dokie.
Rather silly one. Marvin Gaye impersonator spots UFO over Birmingham. Why has he Marvin Gaye impersonator? I don't know. But yeah. Mike Bedward has heard through the grapevine that extraterrestrials are drawn to spectacular sky scenes, such as dazzling sunrises and double rainbows, apparently. What's going on is more UFO than UFO. A fleet of strange crafts spotted in the sky over Birmingham by Marvin Gaye tribute act. And Mike Bedward has heard it through the grapevine, using the same bloody joke again. Extraterrestrials are joy. That's the same line, actually. As Steve says, I do hate it when they do that. Repeat the same line I just said. Anyway. The Stratford singer didn't know what he'd inadvertently caught on camera until he studied the pictures of rainbows. It takes two, apparently, to attract aliens. Now, have you ever heard that before? Has anyone ever heard that before, that double rainbows attract UFOs?
No.
Not off. There we go. Okay, the 44-year-old was intrigued by the shrapnel-type flecks against the rainbow, snapped at 6:30 p.m. on Monday. Zooming in on the images, it revealed shining slithers to be cigar-shaped craft in the blue sky over Alum Rock. I don't know what that is. It also captured a strange vapor trail. Now, I'm trying to actually find the photographs. It's nice when they talk about photographs, but then don't actually bother to put the photographs in.
If you click the gallery at the top, there's loads of photographs there. Number 8, and it looks like there's loads of them.
Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes. So there we have. Now, I think, to me, that looks like rain. He's changed the angle of the camera, and I think that's rain. I don't know about anybody else, but my rain radar says rain. Anyway, I'm not saying that they're UFOs, no, really, okay. Although, yes, I'm a believer. I am saying I can't explain what I've pictured, and neither can other people. The crafts are rectangular and glow like light strips. I think they're rain. I've seen strange things in the sky before. This is the first time I have had a camera with me. He added, I believe UFOs are attracted to beautiful things like rainbows. It's not the first time Alum Rock has been in the grip of a close encounter. Back in November 3rd, 2010, authorities were contacted following reports of a large black object moving slowly across the sky. Witness Paul Ryan, who spotted the craft at 7 p.m, reported it was a very large, which I could tell by the set of lights in the three corners. That's a triangular-shaped object again. Now, the interesting thing with triangular shapes is something that cropped up a lot in the 1980s and then was believed to have been an American spy plane. Now there seems to be these triangular objects are now being seen again. Whether America is testing a new version of their triangular spy plane, I don't know, but it's interesting. Each corner was many different coloured flashing lights. Very bright and changing colours very quickly. The object appeared to be flying very low and very slow. It was completely silent. I watched, this is obviously the other vehicle we're talking about, not what Marvin Gaye saw. I continued to watch for a couple of minutes, thinking that the object might reappear further along on a southeast direction, but it had vanished into a small, low-flying cloud and didn't reappear. Members of the UFO group believe that they are decidedly earthly, even mundane explanation for many strange phenomena, and Chairman Dave Hodgin is quick to point out that Marvin Gaye impersonator ain't nothing like the real thing. It's just bad jokes. It's very rare, said Dave. We see the pictures and think, wow. It's very rare we see something that can't be explained. In this instance, probable explanation is lens flare, scattering of light in the lens system, naturally of rainbows caused by sunlight. I'm not sure about that explanation, because I'm not a great knowledgeable person in photography, but to me, a lens flare doesn't go in lots of different directions at the same time. That still looks like to me rain.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Well, there's no sense of angle or size or scale, because all you can see is the rainbow colours. If there are buildings in the background, you might get some kind of idea, but no, I think that's more likely to be rain than anything else. I mean, even if it's just, obviously you have to have rain in the air to get rainbows. So sunshine don't just appear randomly. There has to be some moisture in the air to create the rainbow. So there's a good chance that's just rain. But I don't know. We never know for certain, do we? Anyway, story number 2. Another little UFO type.
TTGH agrees with you. It looks like rain to him.
Yeah, I think so. Next story coming up is this little chap. Boom.
Yep.
And UFO sightings. Photographer captures a 14-strong fleet of unidentified crafts in bizarre pictures.
More rain.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Hal Jennings claims the objects cruised around the sky, flapping on their backs. Now, what usually flaps? Maybe birds. Strange shapes captured by a photographer towards the end of last year. For some reason, he sat on the photographs until now, because this is dated now, but these photographs were actually taken last October. Mirror Online reader Carl Jennings from Ireland told us he took the pictures in broad daylight at around 5 p.m. on the 27th of October 2014 while in central Madrid. He insists that the photographs have not been altered in any way and is convinced the bizarre objects are not birds or planes, but rather 14-strong fleet of unidentified baton-shaped crafts. According to Carl, the strange shapes were in view for about 90 seconds before disappearing behind some tall buildings. I'm assuming the original photograph is the one after I've just read on the left, and then they've been obviously enhanced. But he told Mirror Online that the craft cruised with the illuminated facet facing down, and they sped up, rotated lengthwise, flapped their backs, not wings, backs, and had lights so bright that they bleached up the broadest daylight. There were no wings, they flap something if there's no wings, no audible sounds, no propellers, no fins, M&H, whatever that means, no smoke and no contrail.
What I do like about that is he said he snapped a picture of an aeroplane using the same settings.
Yes, and that's the picture beneath.
As a kind of contrast.
Doesn't prove a thing, does it?
No, it doesn't, but it does kind of tell you that it's not a plane, which we kind of guessed anyway.
My suspicions may be birds or insects, but it does, on the first look, I find the little dots more impressive than the actual zoomed in stuff. Anyway, next story. Now this one is has already happened, but I thought it was interesting to read anyway, because none of us knew anything about this.
Yeah, my count said it looks like birds to him.
Yes. He keeps talking about flapping, but yet said he didn't have wings. So what was flapping?
Good point.
Next story. Thankfully we survived this one. Giant asteroid will zoom past Earth today, actually last Friday, but don't panic. It's huge, dangerous, and heading our way. They do love their scare headlines, don't they? Should be scared of asteroid. Hey, look at this, bad grammar, miss. Oh dear. Mirror, what is that supposed to say? Should be scared of asteroid 199 FN53. Should we be scared of? Should they be scared of? There's oh dear. The proofreader should be fired for this. Anyway, huge asteroid will skim past Earth today, but human species is expected to survive the latest close encounter with a gigantic space rock. They do like going over the top.
I like the way they put 6.3 million miles missing its chance to kill us all. I mean, come on.
I think we're quite safe, really. It's chance to kill us all. It's like the way they word it as well. It's ridiculous, isn't it? In 100 years, the 1 kilometre of wide rock will get another crack at an apocalypse and come even closer to our fragile blue planet, although possibly not close enough to wipe out humanity. Some will be safe again in 100 years' time as well. I mean,
since when is 6 million miles away close?
Exactly. It's not even in the neighbourhood, really, is it? Asteroid. This is what NASA said. Asteroid 1999 FA53 will safely pass Earth on a 40th of May by over 6 million miles. It poses absolutely no threat. So why are some bloody newspaper reporting this non-threat? This is a flyby in the loosest sense of the term, said Paul C.O.T.C, manager of NASA's Near-Earth Objects Program Office at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. I think the thing is that it kind of highlights the fact that with all our knowledge and technology and weapon and equipment, there's probably what we could do if there was a genuine asteroid really coming to hit the Earth. There's nothing we could do. We'd just say, oh well, nice knowing you. Let's all be ghosts because we've stuffed. Nothing we can do about it. But
I suppose we could try and make it smaller by leading rockets at it, but
I can't see that would work either. I mean, okay, my nuclear explosive is pretty powerful, but I can't see it would split anything. It's like an asteroid that big. I mean, we've all seen Armageddon, and it kind of
we can all send Bruce Willis up.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good film, that, by the way. Apparently, the science behind it's ludicrous again. So there we go. Anyway, I'm not going to read you more of this silly story. I just love the total non-storiness of it. It's another non-story. As I mentioned before, I listen to Talk Sport a lot because I love the irreverence and the meaningless nonsense. And they often talk about non-stories. I make a big deal of these non-stories that they find and read them out. This one is slightly more sinister, shall we say, a little unpleasant. And it is Australian town stunned us. It rains baby spiders.
Oh no!
Oh yes, the little chap sticking out there, looking out. Some residents told how they found small arachnids in their beards.
Oh God!
Webbing in their hair. Creepy. It's not creepy. It's cute. Little eyes looking out there. He's only got 2, which is strange because they're 8, but that's nice.
I'm not looking at that one then.
A small town has found itself at the centre of what could be the plot of a horror movie after baby spiders rain down from the sky. The locals in the South Australian town of Goulburn, what a name, have been told how the sun was almost blocked out by the tiny arachnids and the webbing fell to the ground during that particular day. One resident of the town, Ian Watson, said how the rain was so bad it had tiny spiders nesting in his hair. Lovely.
Oh, God.
Mr. Watson said the whole place was covered with these little black spiderlings. I think he's made spiderlings up. I don't think that's a real word, isn't it?
No, spiderlings is a word.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it before.
It's called baby spider spiddies. Never mind. Yes. When I looked up at the sun, it was like the tunnel of webs going up for a couple of 100 metres into the sky. I'm 10 minutes out of town and you can clearly see hundreds of little spiders floating along with little webs, and my home is covered in them. You couldn't go out without getting spider webs on you, and I've got a beard as well.
Oh!
Whoa,
no, it's alright. I thought I'd have a look. No, we should never.
No, don't look. You're arachnophobia, do not look.
Oh.
That's not the little one there.
I'm glad I didn't look any further.
While this could be considered an alien to people in the UK, it's not uncommon for parts of Australia to experience a similar phenomenon. There we go. Spiders are known to migrate to the top of plants and trees and leap off using their webs as parachutes. Wow, little spidey parachutes.
Yeah, they do this. They do it a lot.
This migration technique is known as ballooning and considered by scientists to be the reason why spiders are found on every continent. So there you go, they go for balloon rides.
I mean, how many times have you walked down the path, Andy, and walked into a spider web?
How often
do it straight across the path?
You get an horrible feeling across your face. You know,
ghost I can do. Little 8-legged freaks, no.
But they won't hurt. Well, actually, some can hurt you, but not most of them don't. Okay, that was that one. And no, I'm not going to do this next one, so I'm not going to do that. Right, and my last one is the video. Yeah. Oh, no, I just cut it. No, that's all right, should be all right. And this one, for a change, is seeing Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man, does it ever Spider-Man?
That'll be Michael Bublé.
Here we go. My last video is, I think it's a silly video, but it's actually not from YouTube for once. It's actually from somewhere else. It's the Daily Mail. The video claims to show a UFO attacking Taliban base. It's only quite short and no sound, so you can listen to it, watch it. There we go. The video claims to show UFO attacking Taliban base. You see it? Top middle of the screen.
There's no sound.
It's only got no voices or anything.
Oh, right.
Again, I don't know, it looks computer generated to me, but it's made its way into the Daily Mail online, but it looks computer generated to me, I must admit. I mean, it's obviously someone's got real video footage from an attack on a base somewhere in the Middle East. It could be anywhere, really. And then they've had a little video of a UFO type object into it. I mean, again, the object might be a plane going past, a little flashing light again might have been added in, but there we go. So, kind of silly that it made it all the way onto the Mail Online. Pardon me. And that's my news stories. Quick film tips again, as I briefly tried to mention last time. Caught a couple of films this week, which some I'd recommend, some not recommend. A film called Sinister actually was quite better than I thought it was going to be. It's a bit gruesome at the start. It must be particularly pleasant things happening in it, but it makes a change from the usual kind of Judeo-Christian creature causing mayhem and havoc. It's something a little bit different, and a bit of thought's gone into the character, the creature, the bad guy, whatever you want to call it. It was actually not a bad story. The ending, okay, a bit silly, but it's worth watching. It's not a bad one. Another film I saw at the weekend was called Shrooms, short for mushrooms, came out a couple of years back. It starts off kind of, this thing you've seen a million times before, a bunch of American kids go off into the woods. This time they're in Ireland, hunting for illegal mushrooms to cause trips and other strange things to happen. And it gets really bogged down because you're never sure whether it's someone having an imaginary trip or these things are really happening to them. It gets very confusing, and to the point I almost gave up with it. But I just like to figure out what was actually going on. I thought everyone would get killed. They don't. And actually, it's got quite a clever twist at the end, which I didn't know, because you can't tell which bits are really happening in the film or which are imagination induced by the drugs. You can't really tell what's going on. But right at the end, you suddenly think, oh God, yeah, now it makes sense. And when they show this footage kind of redone, it makes a lot more sense, and it is actually quite a good film, but you have to persevere because you do get this feeling of not knowing what on earth's going on about halfway through, which bit's real, which bit isn't real, are they imagining things, are they not imagining things. It got generally quite negative reviews, but did actually do quite well in the box office, but it's not the kind of thing that would have a sequel to it. Unlike Sinister, which has got a sequel, which is out fairly soon, in August, and the trailer for Sinister 2 is part of our Between Shows little video montage that comes up. But yeah, Sinister, worth watching. Get hold of it, definitely. Shrooms, okay, you might watch it once, but it's not too bad. But the trouble is, once you've worked out the ending or seen the ending, that kind of takes it off the whole film. You kind of know what's going to happen. It's a bit like The Sixth Sense in that respect. Once you've got that bit, it's like, oh, okay, what's the point of seeing that again? But I also watched in the week The Ring, the American version of The Ring, which I absolutely love. I think one of my favourite supernatural films, and that's well worth watching. The Ring. But there you go. There's a couple of films that I would suggest that are worth watching. Definitely get if you came hold of Sinister. And people's coming out. Ethan Hawke, by the way, starring in Sinister, which is unusual to have quite a high-profile American Hollywood style actor being in a horror film. And his wife, whose name I forget her name, is actually an English actress who I think might have been in Coronation Street at one point. But yeah, she's in that. And there's no one of any note or fame or faith who recognises it in Shrooms at all. But again, so not a bad film. So there you go. That's it from me.
Yeah. Have you seen the trailers for Poltergeist? The new one.
Not yet, no. I'm quite looking forward to seeing that.
It looks quite scary.
Oh, good. I said one of my reviews a few weeks ago of Insidious is like a darker version of Poltergeist, similar kind of theme to it. So I hope
it's due out this week or something, isn't it?
Well, I'm very
22nd.
22nd.
filled it with gore and nastiness. I hope it's just like a remake, modernised, better quality monsters and sort of effects, and not added sort of horrible angles that aren't necessary. Because it's like one of my all-time favourite horror films is Nightmare on Elm Street, the original version. And I saw the remake made a while ago. It was just a gore fest. It was just blood and guts everywhere. And I thought, this has really lost it. The thing about Nightmare on Elm Street was it was that nightmare quality about it. And this blood and guts, all over the place remake was just awful. Same with Evil Dead. Again, brilliant film. It's very funny in places, and it's still very gory, but it's done really silly. The gore is over the top. It's bright greens and blues spraying around. It's not like blood at all. It's kind of weird stuff. Yeah. But the modern remake of Evil Dead is just nasty. It's just a video nasty. And I think, why do that? Why not have? You're going to remake it, fair enough, but let's keep the theme, the feel of the silliness of the film.
Well, you can see the trailer because I have actually put it on the KTPF page for the Poltergeist.
Yeah. When it comes to Freddy, I kind of like Dream Warriors. I know it was a
third
bit.
One, yeah.
It was a bit.
That wasn't bad at all.
You've seen the experiment, the Ouija board experiment movie?
There is
the one that's called Ouija.
Yeah, there's Ouija out. Is that the one you mean, TG?
I've not seen
I haven't
it yet.
seen that one, no.
I've not either. I mean, I'm trying to. I must download loads of these films and watch them, and most of the time I'm just deleting them afterwards. I mean, some of the abominations I've seen recently.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not actually that big on horror films.
No, I must have. I do like a good horror film. One I did see last week, didn't even mention, which was absolutely dreadful. And that was a film called Amityville Asylum. Now, the idea is this girl gets a job as a part of the cleaning team of an asylum built inside of the Amityville house. Except the Amityville house is still there. So Amityville Asylum on it. It's actually English made, and it is appallingly badly acted. Camera work is just dreadful. They've got multiple scenes where you're filming a person and there's objects either side of the person in the foreground, so they're blurred like a voyeuristic kind of effect. You've got one guy who's obviously couldn't do an American accent, so he's doing a kind of weird Russian accent, even though he's got an English type name. There's two other people in it whose accents are just abysmal. There's no way that you sound even comical American. And the girl herself, the only saving grace she's got is she does a good American accent, and then she's obviously English. But it is just awful. It's just badly filmed. It's badly scripted. It's about as scary as Jack and Ori. It is truly dreadful. So if you're an Amityville fan, and I've seen the remake, 2005 remake recently, and that was good, but do not bother with Amityville Asylum. It is absolutely got nothing to do with Amityville whatsoever, other than nicking the name and claiming one of the children haunts the asylum, which, what? So it's just dreadful. It really is awful. Amityville Asylum, avoid like the plague.
Right, okay, well thanks very much. That's Andy's Files. I'm not saying Conspiracy Files anymore because you're doing other things.
No conspiracies, unfortunately. Although we are going to do a show, aren't we, in June? We're going to talk about the top 10 conspiracies of all time. Now, they're not necessarily going to be in a particular order, because you could debate for days just which order they put them in, but we're going to be talking about 10 conspiracies. I've done a bit of research and come up with the 10 that I think are probably the most famous, the most influential, the most effectual in terms of changing people's perception about the reality world around us for us to talk about. So guys, please, if you've got questions or want to talk about any particular conspiracy that you are interested in, let us know and I'll see if I can include it in the 10. But certainly tune in, guys, and come to the forum and Skype or phone with any questions about conspiracies. It's going to be just the three of us. I'm kind of the subject is the guest, if you like. This conspiracy subject is the guest, and we're going to talk about them beforehand, and we can then discuss them over the air, as it were, in that show in middle of June. Is it late June? I can't remember exactly when we're doing it.
There's a funny cartoon thing that's running around Facebook at the moment. Urgent warning for tomorrow. Aliens are coming to Earth tomorrow. Their mission is to abduct all sexy, good-looking old people. I'm just sharing to say goodbye. I've got to go pack. And that's not all that people are sharing. A certain young lady is reminiscing about her wedding day. I wonder who that could be, Andy.
What?
Are you coming up to your anniversary or something?
No, it's not until October.
Not until October.
I've it up now. If anyone wonders what we're talking about, I think it's Mandy we're talking about.
Yes.
No.
Yes, she seems to be reminiscing about her wedding day. And putting pictures of you on.
Now, we've spent the afternoon, would you believe, you've probably seen the adverts for Music Magpie where you can sell your CDs, and we've got hundreds, literally, that we just never ever play. And we've been scanning them all afternoon, and amongst them we found the CDs of the music we had at our wedding, because one of the discs had gone missing, and that's the Pacquiao picture. That one had gone missing years ago, so we thought.
Concerto Grosso in G minor.
Yes, that was it. That was one of the ones we walked into. But yeah, it's pictures of me taken, oh my God, 15 years ago now. Nothing.
Pretty pictures of Amanda as well.
10 years ago they were.
Yeah, pretty pictures of Amanda.
A bit less of me in those days. More hair, less of me.
Oh, what's Facebook?
I haven't seen these pictures. I'll have a look.
I'll do have a look.
Where they be?
On Amanda's timeline.
You can probably find them via my page, and who's listening, you're still bobbing to listen to this nonsense. I'm making photographs, aren't
I don't know.
So she found one of the discs in the photograph amongst the hundreds or so. We've got sort of 130 quid's worth of CDs sold to Magpie. So God knows how much. If you think they're giving us 130 quid for that lot of CDs, you think there'll be hundreds of pounds actually tied up in the damn things. It's quite frightening, really.
Oh no. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of our show, my dear.
Okay.
So, been a good night again tonight. You've been reminiscing with Stuart and Stacey.
Well, I kept calling you two, Stuart and Stacey, when I was in the show with Richard. I don't know why. I think it's because we've just been talking about the fact they were going to come on, but yeah. So there's too many S's. That's the problem. Stuart and Stacey, Steve and Sue.
I don't know. And there seems to be a little bit of a thing going on with Andy coming up for the weekend and doing things. He seemed to do it everywhere by the sounds of it.
Yes. What? Sorry, I missed something now.
I said there was a mention about you coming up for weekends and that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Seems to be a thing with you, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, you don't drive, you have to stay. Like, I wouldn't sort of go just for the day to bloody Manchester anyway. That's a long way to go. But yeah.
Definitely. So, well, don't forget, guys,
Before we go, one thing we forgot to say, and that is happy birthday to Tim Brown of Pigs. His birthday today.
Okay.
I thought we said that. We like pigs, don't we? Pigs, not pigs.
Yes.
I just didn't know it was
It wasn't as if we were going to finish just yet, but never mind.
Oh, I thought we finished well,
now, if you would like to be on the show, then email us at admin@ktpf.co.uk. We are always open to discuss any specific area of this genre, including ghosts, monsters, psychic phenomena, or other supernatural or unexplained mysteries. So why don't you give us your suggestions for a topic? Remember, this is your show too, so get involved. And yes, happy birthday to Tim Brown.
Of the pigs.
The pigs.
No, the hyphen pigs.
The hyphen pigs, yes. Yeah. Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Service. So, down there in East Sussex. And we hope you've enjoyed the show, and we look forward to having your company again next Sunday at 8 p.m. on www.ktpf.co.uk. And we're talking all things vampires.
Oh,
so,
bloodsuckers.
So, thank you, as I say, thank you for listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show, supported by Phenomena Magazine and Beyond Parazine, and sponsored by
Craigienos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghastly and ghostly events, including fright nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
Yep, that's it. So until next time, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her.
And it's good night from the cat.
The cat. Meow. Thank you for listening, and thank you for joining us in the chat room. We do appreciate you being with us every Sunday and getting involved and asking questions and stuff like that. It's great to see you there. Don't forget, if you have missed the show tonight, you'll always have the replay, which will be available tomorrow on our YouTube channel. And basically, all that's left to say is remember to keep the paranormal friendly. Good night and God bless.
Right.
Night, guys.
Night.
Good night. What was that you just said?
With me?
Yeah.
Keep the paranormal friendly, alright?
Alright.
This is where it's at.
See you later.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.